Fixing this one training mistake meant that I was able to increase my FTP by 20 watts in 8 weeks, the quickest amount of progress I'd ever made. This mistake is one that I see so many cyclists making and one that I made at the start of my journey too. And it means that the hard work and effort you're putting in on the bike just isn't being rewarded with the gains in FTP, power and fitness that you deserve. I'm not going to hide the mistake and reveal it at the end of the video, so the mistake is that you're training too hard too often. Counterintuitive, I know, but let me explain what I mean, why it's so detrimental to your progress, and how you can make a simple tweak to your training to fix the mistake and start making some amazing progress yourself. I'm Jonny, a coach and personal trainer who in the last few years has found a passion for training on two wheels. Join me as I document my journey to become a stronger cyclist, whilst hopefully sharing some of my coaching knowledge to help you too. See you on the road. As cyclists, and I'm speaking for myself here as well, we'd really like to push hard on the bike. We like to overtake people if we're out on the road. We like to sweat and feel as if we've, put a good shift in and put a lot of effort into each ride that we do. The trouble is, if you do this on every single ride, the fatigue soon builds up. Even if you have rest days between those rides, fatigue is still there, building up in the background, and it means what then feels like a really hard ride, if you actually look at the numbers, actually isn't. Research has shown that we can really only handle 2 hard sessions per week. And when I say hard for cycling, I mean kind of sessions at or above FTP. So doing any more than 2 tough sessions per week just means that you're building excess fatigue and you're not going to be able to then perform on those hard sessions moving forwards. There's then this whole cycle of pushing hard, thinking we're working hard, but actually the numbers don't replicate that. We're probably working in zone 3, maximum zone 4. We're building up fatigue and never have a chance to fully recover. But before we go into how to fix this within our training, let's go through what we're not kind of getting from this style of training that we really need to maximize our progress. So the 2 things we're not getting with this style of training and with this training mistake is 1, as I've said, adequate recovery, but 2, this then means that we can't push for enough time above our FTP to improve our level of fitness and improve our VO2 max. If you didn't know, VO2 max is essentially how much oxygen you can take in and utilize every single minute. Now, VO2 max is super important to improve as a cyclist, and it's that work at 106% to 120% of our FTP that helps to build our VO2 max. And it's an area we often neglect because there's lots of training we often think we need to do around that zone 4 or around our FTP to build our FTP up. But to improve our FTP, we also need to spend time below it, but we also need to spend time above it. We need to work both ends of the spectrum. Training at or just below FTP is great, as is building our endurance at zone 2, but we also need to work out zone 5 and even above as well to really gain improvements in all of these different zones. And spending adequate time in that zone 5 area is pretty tough if you're not recovering and trying to go hard on every single ride. If you've ever tried to ride at 106 to 120% of your FTP or 90+% of your maximum heart rate, you'll soon see that it's pretty tough to hold if you're not adequately recovered and fresh. And this is also important because working in different zones correlate to different physiological changes within our body. Working in zone 2 or endurance zone means that we're going to be getting adaptations at the muscle. So improved number of mitochondria, those things that actually generate power within the cell. We're also going to be getting increased capillarization, so just more blood vessels within and around the muscle, and just generally increased efficiency of the working muscles within the legs. And we can only really get that with zone 2 endurance-based training. And working in zone 5 gets us improvements in VO2 max. They're kind of more central adaptations. The research has shown that working at VO2 max improves the strength of our heart, improves strength of the lungs, improved number of blood vessels within the lungs. So you see, we need to work in all of these different zones to be able to gain the benefits that they provide. You can even see on the Garmin app now, depending on your device, if you go into training status and then training load, it actually provides you with a bit of a breakdown as to where you're working within in terms of different training zones when you're out on the bike. So the idea is that within your training, you're sort of nicely balanced, you're working your top end, but you're also working the endurance zone and the bottom end as well. It's having this nice balanced amount of training that's really going to get you the gains in FTP and power and fitness that you deserve. So how do we tweak our training to make sure we're getting the most from it? So we're not underdoing it, but so we're not overdoing it as a lot of us do. So the easiest way to do this is to give each ride a purpose. You're either going easy or going hard. And when I say going hard, what I mean is training either at or around your FTP or higher in that more sort of VO2 max based zone. And when I say easy, we're talking more zone 2 or zone 1. And we need to be doing what we call polarized training. It's where you're either working hard or working easy. You've probably heard of the 80-20 rule, where 80% of your training should be considered kind of endurance-based, zone 2 based, and then 20% should be that zones 4, 5, or even above. So each ride really does need to have some kind of purpose, and ideally you want to be able to track that purpose using either heart rate or power or the torque test, as I've talked about in a previous video. As an example, I ride 3 times a week. One ride is a nice 2-hour ride usually, or more at the weekends. That's usually zone 2, nice chilled effort. Maybe I head to the cafe with my father-in-law or head out on just a nice easy ride. Then I have 2 hard rides during the week. Again, looking at the evidence that you can't really recover from any more than 2 hard sessions per week. One of those sessions is at VO2 max, and then one of those sessions is at threshold. So that threshold ride might include efforts of 10 to 20 minutes at or around my FTP, and that zone 5 or VO2 max session might include efforts that are just above my FTP, 106% to 120% for between 3 to 8 minutes, and I'll do a couple of repetitions of those throughout the ride. But of course, remembering that there is also time, especially at certain times of year, that we just want to get out on the bike and enjoy our riding and forget zones altogether and not really look at progressing as optimally as we can. If you enjoyed this video, do check out this one here where I go through the cheapest way to track your training zones, which is really important after what we've gone through today. Thanks so much for watching, ride strong, and I'll catch you in the next one.